investigating the paranormal and cryptid phenomena. His work has taken him across state lines, including repeated field explorations in Oklahoma tied to notable cases. Jason has contributed to 4 published books and is currently writing his own, drawing from decades of first-hand encounters and research. The Kansas Bigfoot Research Society was born out of his personal experiences with the creature in both Kansas and Oklahoma, fueling a lifelong pursuit of truth behind the unexplained. So, thank you, Jason. And I need up to the panel, Scott Rademacher, Bordertown Paranormal, Red Dirt Cryptids, Snowbro, and Kansas Sightings. I need Ken Romuller, Monster Paranormal and a Muck Podcast. Brian Terrell, author, Red Dirt Cryptids, Snowbro. Coleman Ashley, Red Dirt Cryptids. Robert Crayville, author, Monstrous the Podcast. I need Heather Woodward, author, Envious Alien Podcast. Where are you at? Where's your write up? That's cool. Oh, okay. Eric Schrader, Red Dirt Cryptids. I didn't have it right now. All right, so we're going to start this panel on Bigfoot origins.
All right, well, thank you for having me. I came out here with Spooky Bro, who was finally making his way back in. Almost didn't make it here. I missed my exit and took me into Oklahoma and then took a while to get back here. So, I'm not, say, an expert in any of this like you guys are. I started the paranormal 25 years ago, and it was during a case back in 2012 when we were investigating a house in Tahlequah, Oklahoma that actually ended up having more activity of Sasquatch in that area and at that property that led to us finding evidence, first-hand encounters, actual visual encounters at the property to us going back several times all the way to 2015. So that piqued my interest. We've actually, me and a couple guys on the team have actually gone out to Kansas and started Bigfoot hunting, using our skills for ghost hunting to try and be out there and do it with casted 3 prints up near Kingman, Kansas, and stuff like that. But, like I said, by no means am I an actual expert in any of that. But that's why I'm here to make you guys chat or argue, either way. I know. Being a tour guide for the Wichita Ghost Tours for 17 years, I like hearing other people's stories and I like getting you interacted, so I don't want to be talking too much. So first off, how many have actually had a full-on visual encounter? 3? Have I heard yours?
I'm not sure. I have to give it to
You need to tell me again.
Yes. Do you want me to roll you over here?
Now, for me, everybody's tall, so everybody could be Sasquatch, But, so, do you think, I'll just start off, like, the history of Bigfoot, most Native Americans have it in their lore. A lot of settlers back in the past coming to this land, they reported seeing it. What is your take on it? Is it a physical creature that you believe is actually there?
My take on the Sasquatch is that, yes, it's a physical creature. It's a mammal, but I truly believe that it's an interdimensional being. So it may have originated here on Earth. Don't know. because there's no real explanations for them at this point. A lot of hypotheses, but I do believe that they are real. But they are interdimensional. That's why nobody's been able to really find them. That's my take on them. I will not run from them, at least unless I'm face to face, and I'll probably die right there. I'll have my NDE as I talked about this morning. But no, I've actually gone researching once in our southern Arkansas, and I'm pretty sure I saw one standing about 5 feet away from me. So it's pretty amazing.
Now, I never gone Bigfoot hunting. I would love to go one day. I do believe that something's out there, but my take, which has got a lot of debates on it, when you see a UFO, you usually catch a Bigfoot somewhere along the line, or vice versa. And I get a lot of feedback from that. What are your guys' thoughts on that? He's laying.
Because that is a big question that a lot of people are starting to have.
Working? That's my range here. So I've got probably close to 300 case files out of Oklahoma and southern Kansas. And I'm an evidence-based investigator. I've always kind of said that it doesn't really matter how I feel about something, it's what the case files show, and that's my crutch, that's what I lean on. And I have not gotten any reports that show any type of relationship with the UFO. However, I am aware of what they call the Pennsylvania effect. And there was a string of UFO encounters that had some strange Bigfoot activity involved too, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't know that that's ever happened in this area. And those, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen, that's few and far between. But I'm not saying it can't happen. I just haven't ever been presented with any evidence that it is happening. That was actually me. I'm really thirsty. It's either that or some kind of paranormal interference. So, I don't know. They're speaking to that again. Is it just me?
Yeah. It's you.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, that's my opinion. I just go with whatever the case files show. And I would be very fascinated to have some kind of evidence like that, but I haven't even had anybody report seeing the closest thing that I have come to is I had a lady that reported some Sasquatch activity, and she said a couple of months prior to that she'd had a UFO fly over her house, but to the best of her knowledge they were not together or anything. But, that's as close as I've come thus far.
So, Sean, with what you were asking, if you look at it historically, you look at like investigators like Sam Winston, Jacques Vallée, Timothy Renner, some of the other ones like that, they've noticed areas, especially like up in Pennsylvania, where you had UFO activity, and then you have reports of Bigfoot along the same period of time, where you have reports of orbs, different things like that. So it kind of overlaps. That's the big thing that they talk about with the high strangeness. Is a lot of things like that, which leads us to come up with so many different theories as far as the origins of Bigfoot and what Bigfoot really is. But then that also leads us to question: is there several different things happening simultaneously along with Sasquatch? So my background is cryptozoology, biology. So if I look at that question, I'm looking for physical evidence, I'm looking for tracks, I'm looking for blood, hair, scat, things like that, because I'm looking for a biological animal. That's what cryptozoology does. It doesn't look for the paranormal side of that, but we have to admit that there is something paranormal that seems to be happening at the same time, or at the very least something that we can't explain. So It's hard. That's a very simple question that you ask, but it's a very difficult answer because all of the evidence is kind of all over the place. That's why there's so many different theories that are actively going on right now as far as the origins of Bigfoot. Even within the Native American community itself, there's several different ideas. Some view them as good, some view them as evil, sometimes cannibals, sometimes they're these holy spirits. Until we, nobody wants to say this, but until we have one on a slab and we can say, okay, definitively, this is what it is, we don't know. And no answer's right, no answer's wrong.
So speaking to somebody once who goes out and does the research and everything, has said to me that they believe that there's three types. I'm not talking about Yeti and all that. I'm talking about three types. One is aggressive, territorial, basically the number one, if you had to categorize it. You got another one, which is the basic Bigfoot that is seen by everybody who goes out and about. Then you got the more earthly one, the one that is almost like the keeper of the species, that only appears if you are like granted a chance to see it. It like only appears when it needs to. That was told to me. So what's your guys' take on something like that? Because there are different encounters that people have had.
I think if it's a biological entity, just like human beings, right? Okay. So we can almost move away from the ape or primate genetics, because whenever we look at chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, when you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Right.
Okay. When you look at Bigfoot, it's not the same. If I have an eyewitness encounter with a Sasquatch, my description might be different than everybody else's description, or it might be very close. It might be very human to me, or it might be very ape-like to somebody else. So there's this weird variance that we have in there, which almost indicates a human genetics, because humans have the greatest variability, which is really weird because we have the smallest amount of gene pool when you look at as opposed to chimpanzees, which chimpanzees have a huge amount of variance compared to us, but they all look the same. It's really weird. So I think you're looking at something that, is it possible that there's three types? Some people say there's three types, some people say there's 7 types. It's, it's whatever's popular at the time, I think, to say, and sometimes what you can make a new podcast on.
Sure.
There have been those who have said there are those like gorillas, or those like chimpanzees, or those that are like orangutans. I don't know, I just go where the evidence follows. So, I mean, until the evidence shows me otherwise, I'm just looking for Sasquatch.
So with all the amount of sightings that are happening, and I apologize for not having any pictures or anything, but they're blurry anyway, so. So with the amount of sightings that happen all the time, that people claim they have, why the lack of evidence? I mean, you get footprints and stuff, but doubters will always say, well, that was false. That's a stamp. That's fake. How come there's only one photograph of them? How come there's only one print in your photographs? Why that? Why not enough hair? Why aren't you getting, why the lack of evidence that people are not finding that are making the doubters really push the subject that it's fake?
I think when it comes to photographic evidence or video evidence, number one, it's just like with paranormal or UFO things. These things happen in a matter of seconds.
Exactly.
Chances are, even though that you have your phone, which will record sound, picture, video, all kinds of things, you probably don't have it active. You probably have it in your pocket. And by the time you get it out and figure out which button to push while you're trying to watch this thing, it's already over with. And you almost have to question somebody who does have that beautiful, clear footage. How do they have their camera ready? What were they waiting on? So I think that's why we don't have a lot of that kind of footage. Whenever it comes to hair samples are brought in. Track samples recovered all the time. There's cat samples that are brought in. It's not so much that they're not recovered. Some people don't. Well, one, sometimes people don't know what to look for at the right time. Two, they don't know how to handle it properly. And three, it may be mishandled in the lab and said that it's one thing when it's actually something else. So there's a line of trust that has to be established, just like in a police investigation. So yeah, I think it's there. Wouldn't you say, Brian, that that's pretty much the case?
So the question, just for the point of reference, what was?
Yes.
I was just asking, like, why the lack of so much evidence that's keeping the naysayers and the skeptics away?
Let's try this again. All right. There's a lot of evidence.
There is.
There's a ton of evidence. I believe that Cliff Brackman just inherited over 250 different casts from Jeff Meldrum's estate. Some of them went to other places too. There's tons of them. There's tons of casts. There's multiple hair samples, blood samples. Eric and I went to Beachfoot this summer, and Darby Orcutt was there, and he announced to the crowd that they were in possession of a body part. He wouldn't say anything more than that, but people are sending the physical evidence to Darby Orcutt and his university for study, hand over fist. There's tons of physical evidence out there. I think there's a lot of physical evidence that's actually out there in the hands of normal Joes right now that they have trust issues because they're just hanging on to it. I mean, it's not the problem is not that we have a lack of evidence. The problem is we have a lack of scientists who have time to look at it. And scientists, that's their job. They work for a living. They do science for a living, right? An auto mechanic doesn't want to go home and change his own oil. The air conditioning guy doesn't want to go home and change his air filter. So at the end of the day, if you're not going to pay these scientists to do it, then they're not going to look at it. And that's really what it boils down to. Is it's about funding. The evidence is out there, but nobody is willing to pay for it. And we have had a couple of rare situations like the Erickson project where there was some money that was tabled. Tom Slick was trying to collect evidence and stuff, but he met a tragic demise. And so I think the problem is not that we don't have the evidence, it's that nobody is funding the research. There's no money for it. And the scientific community is scared to do volunteer work for it because most of these people make their livings off of grant money that they get from the federal government, and they don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize their opportunities there. They have they got a business to run. It's about keeping that lab open and getting that grant money, and they're not going to screw that up by doing fringe science. And that's for the most part. Now, every once in a while, you'll find somebody that is in the scientific community that's willing to take a look at it. But most of the time, when you find a real scientist that's willing to look at your evidence, he's probably retired. Bare minimum, he's tenured.
So basically, a lot of times it's not wanting to jeopardize their life or their career, not the least. Kind of like those who claim that they see a UFO, but they keep it secret, not to tell the FAA or anything like that, because they don't want to jeopardize their career.
I got to push back just a little. You're the expert on it. I just have a question. When do you think that would move science forward? And if you're the scientist who is the one who can theoretically prove the existence of a Bigfoot, you're going to be the most popular person on the planet for a week. That's going to be news all over the world. I mean, that's gonna bring in extra funding, right? That's gonna keep your.
You would think, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Have you met our GOV?
What's that?
Have you met our GOV? Our government?
well,
I haven't met our.
they, and I see what you're saying, but I think, if you plopped a body down in front of them, then they would probably be lining up. They're going to want to, but short of the body, everything else is fringe. So, I mean, we joked around about if we ever did come up with a body, we just load it up and take it straight to a university central square. That'd be about the only way to get away with it. But the truth is anything short of the body is fringe science and hearsay, and a piece of hair or a hunk of meat is not going to, DNA sequence alone is not going to prove anything. And unfortunately, so until you give a scientist that opportunity, he's not going to jump on, he's not going to put a stamp on it, because he's literally looking at losing his retirement and everything else. And, so, I mean, he's not going to gamble with that, short of a 100% clear-cut deal. Once the body shows up on the slide, they're going to be all over it.
I would agree with that, absolutely.
And another thing you gotta look at, unfortunately, there's a lot of politics involved in science, a different type of politics. So if you're a professor at a big college, you're required to write so many papers so often. But what you're gonna write, say you're in anthropology or zoology, biology, you're gonna write based on the backs of what somebody prior to you has written, okay? And if you're writing on a subject that goes against everything that was written before, the politics work against you. So you're trying to build your career off of somebody else's career, and you're trying to feed into that and maintain what was written. So if you're trying to suddenly go against the grain, you're going to get a whole lot of pushback. I mean, there's probably a whole lot of truth in different things in biology and anthropology that have been suppressed. I mean, I'm not going to go on some big tangent or whatever, but there's probably a lot that has been suppressed to a point that we just don't talk about that because that doesn't fit in with what he wrote, she wrote, they wrote. And their whole careers were built on that. Every dollar bill that they had in their bank account was built off of that, and they're not going to risk that. See, there's, like I said, unfortunately, there's a lot of politics in science when you get into writing papers and, Bigfoot and things like it. And if you think about it, Bigfoot, let's say Bigfoot's a human of some type. Isn't that going to turn everything absolutely on its ear? Okay. So then everything that was written before is bull. Just something to think about.
I'd like to add to that because my sister does documentaries for a living, and right now we're working on a project that doesn't have to do with the paranormal, but it has to do with new medical, like microdosing and stuff like that. And both of us have been trying to work with scientists about microdosing to get an expert to talk. And there are certain things that we can't ask. It has to be within the lane of what they're studying, because like if you ask the wrong question and they answer it, they lose their money. So it has to stay within the parameters of what they're allowed to talk about and what their book is about or what they've already spoken about or what has been spoken about. And that, I'm just talking about microdosing, but we've done other stuff with documentaries about fringe topics. Same thing. You have to be very careful about what you ask. You have to be very intentional. They will answer, and then you have to create a soundbite that they agree with. It's usually 2 to 3 minutes long. Like, I just got an email just now, and the guy was like, I'll talk to you about this one specific thing, but I want to okay the soundbite because it relates to my book and my book only. And so that's how science is right now. If you're especially if you're under grant or if you're getting money from a university, like this goes along with
all of the side testing that they do right now, they have to be very specific about what they put out, what their experiments are, and what they are replicating and how that's being perceived. And the other thing too is everything, doesn't matter if it's Bigfoot or anything that's scientific, there's two things that happens. One, to get pushed back from Christianity. UFOs, everything. You can't have UFOs because those are demons. That's like a real thing. That's why UFO research doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, exactly. It's worse than that. There are people in higher up people that it goes against their religious beliefs. So UFOs there's no disclosure. That's why. Same thing with Bigfoot. If there is a human that is not, doesn't have anything to do with evolution, that creates chaos amongst like how many structures, right? Religious, evolution, science, everything has to be rewritten. People don't want to do that. People are very critical of that.
All right. So changing gears just a little bit, but still with the evidence. So just want you, this is something that I've always found fascinating. Just want your take on it. So in the early 1970s, there's a Bigfoot hunter and a journalist that went out to the woods, ended up recording what they call now the Sierra sounds. What they took it to, had it analyzed, found out what sounds like to the experts that it was two beings talking to each other, but in a language that is not known. So what's your take on that?
There's a lot of tribals out there in like different countries that have totally different languages than most people know of. So I mean, they could have caught something like that. But again, I've not done the deep in-depth research that a lot of you guys have done. But if you put it in perspective like that of the tribal community, I mean, I don't know. What do y'all think?
Well, you're referring to the Sierra Sounds.
Right.
And specifically, I think what they call the samurai cabin.
Yeah.
I think it's real.
Yeah.
I think it's real. I think that leans credence to the possibility that these are another type of hominid, humanoid type. Whenever it was looked at, we're a human, or Homo sapiens sapien, and we're classified as that because of our ability to have language. This would be another type of sapien because of the language. It's a language that we don't understand, but it is clearly broken up into syllables, and there's something there. I forgot the guy. It's not Morgan was one of them. I can't think of the other guy's name, but yeah, I don't see any reason why it's not, at very least theoretically possible. If you have something out there like that, why not?
I interviewed Ron Moorhead. He was one of the individuals that captured the Sierra Sounds a couple of years ago, and my understanding is he actually had experts immediately after the fact look at it, and my understanding is that there are certain vocal ranges on the audio with the Sierra Sounds that they say a human can't do. A lot of people are familiar with like the main popular part of the Sierra Sounds, but there's multiple different segments of audio that they capture throughout their stay in the Sierra Mountains there that are interesting. I believe as well Scott Nelson, I believe was the individual's name. I think he's a linguistic expert. I believe, if I remember correctly, he worked for the Navy, reviewed it, and he's done some work on that, and says he can identify language there. So I personally believe the Sierra Sounds are legitimate. And there's multiple other cases like that with the samurai chatter that's very popular. I know NAWAC in Southeastern Oklahoma and Area X, you go to their website, they have an audio catalog where they document audio chatter that they caught on their recorders as well out there. So it's a common phenomenon.
In most animal kingdoms, they have their own specific language, how they communicate with each other. who's to say that, you know, the Sasquatch would be in the same boat? They would have some kind of a language that they can communicate, but at the same time, since they act and kind of reason similar to us, as we were just saying, the sapiens, that they could actually have different dialects, just like we do for, you know, different parts of the country, different parts of the world, different languages that, you know, maybe you got your German Sasquatches and they wear little hats or something. I don't know. It's a bad joke, but I think you get the point where, you know, stop. I get to see them dancing out there. Oh my God, polkas, yeah, there you go. But you know, different dialects that, you know, each community would be able to speak their own brand, if you want to use that word, of a language. And maybe there is an overall common language between most of them, but there's going to be your tweaks, you know, like a pine cone, maybe a cone here, maybe a pine somewhere else, just like a Coke and a Pepsi, you know, that kind of thing. So just different names for different things, so different dialects.
Absolutely. If you guys haven't ever heard the Sierra Sound, it's on YouTube, you can look it up. It's actually fascinating.
You don't want to demonstrate it?
No, you can't. You have the energy for that. So along that basis, like 2 summers ago, went back down to Talipal, just me and a teammate of mine. We went to this, I know it's cliche, but we went to this cemetery, but it's way back off in the woods. I mean, nobody goes out there. We've been there a few times, and nobody ever comes out there. There's just abandoned homes along the dirt road and everything. But as we sat there talking in the car before we got out to go check it out, because in the past we've investigated out there along with the property that we saw the creature. We had a lot of activity, so I wanted to take him in there. As soon as we got out of the car, and this is daylight still, we were just engulfed by the sounds of like screaming. At first I thought it was crows, just loud, lots of them. Then we realized that it's coming off from our left and off in the woods to our in front of us. And then after a while, probably get 2-3 minutes, the scream started to almost change into a chatter, where it's almost vocalization, and you can make out almost 2 over here, 3 or 4 in front of us. And those kept on going back further into the woods because you could hear it. You hear them walking, moving throughout the woods. These quieted down, and then eventually, as we paid attention more to the cemetery and realizing what the hell was that, we heard walking that way, like they were catching up to the other group. So that's why Sierra Sounds always was fascinating, because to me, when I heard that, that's what popped in my head.
The other thing too is you just kind of, I think you alluded to, was you say you think you heard 2 or 3 over here, 3 or 4, whatever the number was. They have different voices as well, so different vocal cord combinations and sizes and shapes, and you know, because we're probably no 2 alike, just like everything else in the world, that their voices are probably different as well, and the sounds that they can make.
I did catch it on recording too, so I need to try and get it to some people to hear it, because I did get recordings of it. After the first minute or 2, you know, we were both like, "Hey, stupid, get a recording." Because again, you never have anything ready when it happens.
It's always sporadic.
So, do you think, and this is like getting out there on some of the things, but a lot of people keep asking me about it, and again, I'm not the expert of it. I've had my encounters, I've had my time out there, but what do you guys think of portals? Do you actually think they are? I did have the She's Watchers on our podcast one time, actually 2-3 times. They actually do believe one of them uses remote viewing. They skipped from being paranormal investigators to going out searching for Sasquatch, using their methods of being mediums and stuff like that to try and search that down. They've caught a lot of evidence and they're getting well known out there, but they've also told us about portals, like deep in the woods. If you ever are hiking out there, if you see a circle within a circle within a circle in the distance, that's usually a portal, and be careful walking that way. Do you think that Sasquatch is known for doing such things, and that's why they can disappear in a moment? Or are they just tricky at hiding?
That was my first comment. That was kind of my first comment, that I truly believe that they're multidimensional. I personally, I think they are mammals of some kind, but that they're interdimensional, that they can go. The reason why we can't find them readily, for the most part, is that they're constantly traveling between, through portals or something, whether it's something crazy that they have on them, that they can just do it instantaneously, or if they just know the earth so well that they know where to go, what to look for. They're gone. So that's my opinion on that one.
Is it possible they're using technology? Technology to use the open up a portal. Earlier we mentioned how they're associated, possibly connected with UFOs, aliens, using advanced technology beyond our comprehension. I'm not saying they're pets or anything. I don't know what interdimensional is. Are there other known creatures that go in and out of existence?
Fairies.
In like the fossil record or whatnot. I think we're just assigning it interdimensional. They're using magic because we don't understand the technology. That's my take on it. Until I see it, and I will run through that circle within a circle.
I have never seen a circle within a circle within a circle. So I mean,
traveling through the forest, we see strange arches and branches.
I go through them. I'm the first one through them, aren't I?
I've never seen it either, and I'm not saying I believe in it, but at the same time, they were very adamant about that's there. They've actually seen them do it, stuff like that. But again, I haven't seen it.
Well, there's also stories, even from the Native Americans, where you might see the Sasquatch and it would run and turn into a bird and fly away, or an orb, or something like that. So if you're asking if it's possible, is it possible? If you look at physics or quantum physics will tell you that portals are possible, that black holes, miniature black holes are possible, that it happens all the time. But there's all kinds of things about the universe and reality that we don't understand yet. Is it likely? No. It's more likely that they're just really good at their environment. And, it's like in the middle of the night, if somebody breaks into your house and you don't have the lights on, who's got the advantage? You or the guy that broke into your house? You. Because you know where all the furniture is. Unless your wife moved the furniture that day, and then you have another thing to look. Your toes are in trouble. But, so that's his living room. That's Bigfoot's living room, or their living room, or whatever you want to say. So they have the advantage. They know how to hide. They know how to move. They know how to do anything out there. Is it necessary for the think about trees and everything else? Is it necessary to include an alternate answer? Well, I couldn't see it, so it must have gone through a portal.
It's an easy answer.
Yeah, it's kind of a
easy cop-out.
In some ways. Is it possible? Yeah, of course it's possible. But again, is it likely? Probably not. Why not? How many times have you been chasing an animal through a certain place, animals have disappeared, and you couldn't find it? And you're like,
oh,
where did they go?
Everything's so different in the woods and in the forest and stuff. I thought something huge was coming at me, and it turned out to be a rabbit.
Right.
Right. Scared the hell out of me.
Well, any deer hunter who's been in a deer stand early in the morning before the sun came out would swear that there was deer walking around them, and as soon as the sun comes out,
it's a robin or a squirrel or something like that. It's been playing. So, you know, there's always a simple answer. We don't always necessarily like it. But yeah, it's possible.
Hey, I chase those, you know, so anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
Could it actually, you know, an alternate idea, I use the word interdimensional, but just thinking about some of the comments, could it actually be that they have some kind of very unique camouflage system where, you know, because there's animals out there that can instantaneously, you know, change their colors to match the background.
You were listening to me.
I still was. I'm expounding upon it. But yeah, I won't go on that one. I got chastised on that one. Anyway, it was in a nice way though. But
I
no,
believe that. I believe that though, because there's octopuses can't occupy.
Yeah.
And like Brian said, like millions and things like that in nature. So why can't
Moths.
moths? Yeah.
There is a natural precedence for different types of camouflage throughout the animal kingdom. And I don't see why we would find that kind of concept to be so foreign. I mean, we're already aware of it. You know, it's kind of like everybody struggles with mind speak, you know, but there's been extensive research and studies done on twins and how a lot of them have documented, you know, mental communication between identical, even paternal twins and even mothers and their offspring. And, you know, but for some strange reason, the concept of communication from mind to mind is such a foreign concept for us. But, you know, I grew up with a set of boys that were identical twins, and I'm here to tell you right now, I've seen them do it all the time. Yeah, it's, I don't, you know, I mean, I guess it's pretty.
No, it's fascinating, really.
It's a real phenomenon, and you know, so we've got all this different stuff that's out there that everybody considers to be foreign, woo or stuff, and I think it's just technology and stuff that we don't understand. You know, Eric's always saying it's just technology, and you know, it's just technology that we haven't discovered yet, and our science is in its infancy. We really don't know half the stuff that we think we know. We use electricity every day, but we still don't really understand, you know, what actually makes it work at a deeper level. We're just really good at manipulating. So, long story, I don't know about portals. I don't have any case files that document it. But a lot of people seem to kind of disappear. Yeah, I mean but I've seen white-tailed deer vanish into the woods. You know, poof, and they're gone. It's like right there. So it can happen. But my kid brother can open up portals.
Oh.
Yeah, he takes a glow stick, ties a string to it, starts spinning it around. I mean, it's like
We have a question in the chat for the panel. Has anyone ever encountered a pukwudgie?
What was that? Sorry.
Has anyone ever encountered a pukwudgie?
No, but they said that it was very popular at the Hinsdale House in New York, and I never got to see one deck of it.
That's a term that's used up north, I think.
Yeah.
Similar to a little person or a baby goat, but yet furry.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
They're kind of aggressive too.
Yeah, they're especially very aggressive and tricksters.
I don't have any case files that involve something I would label as a pukwudgie. You can go through little people.
I don't know if it was a pukwudgie, but I used to live in a house that was literally a clearing in the forest, and there was nobody around there for like 2 miles. And I don't know what it was. We used to call them fairies, but you could literally, and they weren't deer either, but you could literally see something kind of running through the trees, like kind of a shadow. So I don't know what that is. And also, you could hear laughing outside my house. And we used to give offerings too, because like I don't want them in my house. But the other thing too is, you can hear laughter, you can hear child voices, and we used to hear, wind chimes all the time. And I intentionally didn't have wind chimes in my house because I was like, where is that noise coming from? And the more you went through the forest, the farther away the sound would go. So like they were like trying to get you to follow it. And I was like, oh hell to the no, I'm not doing that. But so we would just stand outside my house, and it always happened more during, we had this little creek that went through, and it happened more during like near the water. So I don't know what that's considered, but it had the same kind of feeling as that, just because of the shadow aspect of it.
Wasn't there some sort of a video on YouTube that was going around about some sort of a portal where they were videotaping it, and then people were there out in the field, and they were like disappearing behind it? You know what I'm talking about, Pam?
I don't know that one.
Remember we were at a meeting one time, you guys were showing a video and discussing that?
Very possible.
I just kind of vaguely remember that, and that brings up the whole portal thing. I mean, I wish I knew exactly what video it was, but I just remember that. And like also what Robert was talking about, you know, when you're under your own home, you know where everything's at, lights can be completely out, you know exactly where. So I would believe the same thing would go with Bigfoot out in the woods. He knows where all the little hiding spots are at, the little nooks and crannies, everywhere, which way to go, the quickest way, everything. And he would be a step ahead of us every single time. You know where the big trees are at, hide behind us, not be seen. So, yeah.
I do remember that, Scotty, now that I'm thinking about it. It's, I can't remember the name of the book. It's something Project. I'll think of it and blurt it out here in a little bit. But yeah, they did. They have video with heat sensors that you can see people walk, and then they disappear into something. And their heat signature is completely gone. And then they come back out of it.
The Meadow Project?
The Meadow Project. Yes, thank you.
Meadow?
The Meadow. There's a, I can't remember if it's just there might be a documentary on it or a bunch of YouTube videos. I can't remember which. But yeah, it was definitely on video though. It's pretty interesting.
Well, I got another weird question for you guys, because of the fact of it's gaining a lot of traction. I have people at work that come and bug me about it, even though I tell them to shut up and just leave me alone about this. But what's your thoughts on Sasquatch actually cloaking itself like Predator? Because that's been in some documentaries. It's gaining story, you know, it's all over the internet. All that. I don't know.
The only thing I can say on that is that if I hadn't witnessed something similar to it myself, I wouldn't believe it. Research partner and I were in the woods. We were talking. Something blurry passed behind him. It caught my eye. I was like, I have no idea what that was. He acknowledged that he felt something. It was probably 25 yards behind it, but he kind of felt that something had passed behind him. We went back to talking, and it shot back past him again, and it was like a blur. There was no wind really going on in the forest at that time. It was in the fall, early winter. You could see the disturbance in the leaves as it went past. Was it Bigfoot? I don't know. It was something. But it's not like I saw Bigfoot and it vanished. It was something already more. Yeah. So is it possible again? Yeah, because we don't know what Bigfoot is.
Yeah. What do you think the connection is of Sasquatch with the paranormal? Any specific, like, huge connection? Like the connection between the paranormal and like ghosts and stuff like that. Because when we were in Tahlequah, we went there for a case to help two brothers on their land and at this house that they grew up in. And we were told by the two investigators that brought us out there that it's demonic, it's evil, it knows you before you even say your name, and then all this stuff. It will say your name before you even speak it. It knows your intentions, all this stuff. But the more we were there, the more we kept having encounters with something big and hairy outside. Now, granted, we got stuff in the house too, but we were encountering stuff outside that just kept coming each and every time we went out there. They got closer. It wasn't just one, it was multiple. Kept getting closer and closer to us, all the way into our camps, while we're sleeping, or still awake in our bed, all that.
There is a lot of correlation between Bigfoot activity and supposed paranormal activity. Orbs are one of those things that seem to cross over between every genre. We've been in the forest, or at the very least at the cabin at night, doing Bigfoot research, and you'll see orbs or flashes of light in the forest that have no reason for happening whatsoever. Hearing knocks, strange sounds that you can't place. So there does seem to be something paranormal going on. But I'm also one of those who believes there may be several things happening simultaneously. It may be that there are also things that are paranormal that are happening in an area where there are also Bigfoot in the area. And we just don't separate the two. We've decided that one equals the other. I just think it requires more research.
Right.
We need to be looking into all that better. We need to be doing a better job as far as recovering the information, the data, and just trying to recover it for what it is instead of trying to assign so much to it, because we have a tendency to want to put everything into a preconceived box. Since we see something that we consider paranormal, well, then the whole thing's paranormal. There are some really strange things that happen around where Bigfoot is.
Yeah.
Don't know why. Yet.
So I'm going to do a bit of a shameless plug here. Me and the guys with Red Bear, we actually just dropped a documentary as of yesterday tackling that very subject of Bigfoot paranormal. And it's interesting because when we first did this project, we weren't even going that route at all. We were just kind of aiming to do just a standard, normal Oklahoma Bigfoot research documentary. And, Brian can attest to this as well. The more we filmed and worked on this project, the more weird, unexplained, paranormal stuff we started happening with, growls, as loud as could be after doing an interview with some eyewitnesses, and then we can't, seem to identify where it's at. Sounds like it should be right next to us, and it's coming from somewhere, but we can't see it, some whatever. Class A, you're talking about cemeteries. I mean, we investigated at Brown Springs, which is a really good example of what we've been talking about, where these locations where there's lots of cryptid activity, where there's Class A Bigfoot sightings in these areas, but there's also UFO sightings, there's also paranormal ghost type stuff, and we go to these areas and we're getting Class A EVPs that we can't explain, whispers into our digital recorder, and with no noise, no movement, no branches being broken, no movement of what you would expect to hear from a physical something moving to a recorder and whispering. I could go on and on. So you can't. There's really no way to answer it because we don't know. But I do agree, and I like what was said earlier. I think there's a significant possibility that we're looking at multiple different phenomena occurring in the same location. It could be that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever, has certain capabilities or whatever that we don't understand, or it could be, like I was just saying earlier, multiple different phenomena occurring in the same location. But then the question is why? Why is it occurring in those locations? Why in Brown Springs are we getting this different phenomena? Why in Skinwalker Ranch, again, you get the cryptid, UFO, paranormal stuff. There's just certain areas where this seems to converge, but it doesn't always converge because you have cryptid hotspots where you don't really get that activity. So what is it? That's the question. We don't know. But,
the young lady over there, she wanted to know what happened yesterday, a video, the name of the video? Yes.
Yeah, the documentary is called Whispers from the Woods, and yeah, that's we explore the paranormal a little bit. But it's just, yeah, it's as that's kind of being pulled into that. Again, that wasn't our intention at all, but like I said, the more we worked on that project, the more weird stuff. And that's the case for a lot of researchers too, is if you talk to a lot of researchers, you know, they talk about, and they start off completely, these are relic hominids, these are, you know, descendants of Gigantopithecus, all that stuff. But then the more weird stuff, you start getting more reports of the strange light phenomena. I mean, I could go on and on, just the weird stuff. Sometimes stuff that follows people home, you know, and that you hear that sometimes get reported. So it's just, yeah, I don't know what to make of it, but we kind of experienced that a little bit. So go check it out.
You may have said this already, but where can we see the documentary at?
It's on YouTube. It is on the Red Dirt Cryptid Investigations YouTube channel.
Awesome, thank you.
I think we have soft spots, and just from like wherever that's whatever research. I think there's just soft spots. There's ley lines. There's portals. There's like, I feel like it's just kind of a fissure in the energy, and I think sometimes we intellectualize things too much, and like cryptids and other things that are out there, they're more, dare I say, intuitive. I don't know what the right word is, but kind of feel that out, that you know, where there's a lot of deposits. I mean, we know this. There's a lot of deposits of crystals or different kinds of minerals. You're going to have more hauntings, right? So I think these areas are composited of different things, and then we have, you know, we know with hauntings that if there's been some strong emotional things or events that have happened there, you're more likely to get activity, and I think that just happens throughout nature too. And I think Bigfoot, ghosts, whatever's out there kind of gravitate towards those areas, and so we have these concentration of areas. And I think UFOs use that as energy. So like they're usually where there are lots of sightings, there's also lots of energy, I noticed. And so I think it all kind of goes together. You're gonna have just soft spots on the earth, and some of us are attracted to it, and some of us are like, yeah, no, I don't want to be there. So it just depends on your makeup and your experiences.
Yeah, isn't there somebody out there that really likes to say it's all connected?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so off the topic of that, do you think that Sasquatch may be involved in any kind of disappearance of missing people in national parks or anything like that? A few years ago, there was a boy that was rescued down on top of a rock. I think it was like 15 feet high. Nobody knows why or how he got up there. When they rescued him and found him, and they asked him how you get there, and he said, my bear friend. That was in the news, it's in the papers, all that. What do you think of such things like that?
I'm not going to talk about the little kid, because they weren't too far away from the parents, right? But there's so many stories out there. They're throwing pebbles or sticks, and they're making noises. They're parallel walking. They're doing non-aggressive moves to frighten you away from the area. That's your cue to leave that area. I think perhaps maybe you ignore that and you engage. They'll take that personally, and then you disappear, right? That's my take on it. When you get that weird, creepy feeling in the woods of it's time to go, go.
You're kind of referring to the 411 phenomenon a little bit there.
No, actually, this was just in like local news.
Yeah,
but yes, 411 actually is.
The only problem with the 411 phenomenon, which was started by David Politis.
Yes.
This is going to ruffle a lot of feathers. David Politis, who should have done much better work on his research, didn't, and wanted to write several books. So you have to be careful whenever you decide that everything fits into a nice category, and you want to take each individual story and make it fit into that category, because that's basically what he did. He omitted certain details or altered certain details so that they all seem to be these hotspots of activity of people disappearing, reappearing, and things like that. So that's, it's kind of what we call just bad police work, bad science. When you do a deeper dive on each individual case, and you stop trying to make it, these areas where things have happened, you find that 90% of the cases that he brought up are completely explainable. However, there are a few here and there, but it's not like there's a spot in Yellowstone where people just keep disappearing or whatever. There might have been one where it was really difficult to explain what had happened. Is it possible that Sasquatch has something to do with some of these disappearances? Sure. But the evidence points to, not very likely, it's more likely human intervention than anything else. But strange things happen in the woods. You can end up in the weirdest places. And, like you were talking about this little boy, he ended up, what was it, like 15 feet up in the air on a rock?
Something like that.
Something like that. It might have even been higher than that. And there have been other cases where, I think it was in Alabama, the little boy who was recovered, they had to go through a swamp basically to get to him, and he was sitting in the middle, and he was absolutely fine, and he said that a bear watched over him and put him there. Weird stuff happens, and especially with little kids. That's a whole nother topic right there, is the way the paranormal and weird things like this seem to keep reoccurring with kids. The world is just weird. Weird stuff happens. Could Sasquatch have something to do with it? Yeah, it's possible. With disappearances occasionally. There's even been stories of Sasquatch helping people who were injured and bringing them back to civilization. So, which is it? Yeah.
Anybody else?
I think it was a bear. I do. If you ever watch bears, they'll do stuff like that. They'll pick up kids and move them.
So do you think like a lot of the sightings that people have is misidentification?
Yes.
That they're seeing a wobbly bear instead of a person that's walking?
I've seen a bear on its hind legs in the woods, and
But they do walk different.
They walk like humans do. I mean, it's creepy. Yeah, it is. But I was like, that's a bear. Like I knew it wasn't. Especially the black ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really weird.
I've seen them on TV, but I've actually seen Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I've actually ran toward it, and I saw it turn and run.
Yeah.
And down the embankment, and it's totally two different things.
Yeah, I think bears will pick up kids and move them.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with them. They pick up backpacks, they pick up food, they pick up whatever they want. That's my opinion.
All right, so just one last question because I want to kind of get your opinion on it. The age-old question of 1967, was it a costume or was it real?
It was a darn good costume if it was.
Hollywood costume,
They weren't that good
back then, even they said they had no skills or technology for that back then.
It just, too many factors of it that did not classify as costume worthy.
They were referring to Patterson Gimlin film in 1967. They claim the gate is off. It's too tall to be a human in a costume. They're estimating, I think they ended the argument with like between 6.5 feet to 7 foot tall beings. So what's your opinion? Even though there's a guy that came out saying he was the one in the costume.
The only thing that I will say is, since I have witnessed it myself, to me it doesn't matter. If it's fake, if it was a hoax, it was a hoax. Call it for what it is. If it was real, then it was real. But my belief in what I saw and what I witnessed myself has nothing to do with whether that's real or not.
So that's fair. I kind of feel the same way. I know what I saw. My group know what they saw. It came into our camp several times. We had multiple interactions and sightings of it. But it's like people keep going back to the Patterson-Gimlin film, saying, "Oh, that was a fake. Everything's a fake. It's all fake. It's only one creature that you're talking about anyway." But what we saw was multiple of them in our camps, not just, so they're out there. But everybody and all the skeptics keep coming back to Patterson-Gimlin, the Freeman film, everything else, and saying, "Oh, it's fake. It's fake. You guys, you can't capture a good picture." Well, I could be sure when I saw it rounding the house, coming our way, the last thing on my mind was get my camera. I slapped my friend in the head and I ran toward it and I saw it turn and run. The last thing I didn't even think about having a camera or anything to prove what I was seeing, because I saw it plain as day right in front of me. But a lot of people just don't understand that. So you get the blurry pictures, you got the people that do fake it and are out there doing it, but I don't know. A lot of people, I read it online or in books and they keep going back to 1967, and if people the majority think it's fake, then we're all fake at it and we're just wasting our time doing it.
Well, look at AI nowadays. I mean, with AI, anybody can make anything and make it look real
That's the
anymore.
scary
That's
part.
so sad because you've got us out here doing the research and actually doing the footwork and everything to prove that it's real, and everybody's gonna think it's fake anyway. It's why I always tell everybody, until you experience it for yourself, you may not believe it, but trust me. Go try it.
I would say that the best evidence is actually seeing and believing. I mean, if you believe it yourself and you've seen it, to me, if I seen one, that's all the proof I would need. And you go back to the Patterson-Gimlin film, it was what, 67, and that's the gold standard. Everybody talks about it, and nobody's really debunked it 100%. So,
I'm like you. I've seen it. I'm happy. I could die happy. I've seen a ghost. I've died happy. I just need to see Loch Ness.
Yeah, I agree as well. It doesn't matter to me whether it's fake or real, that particular incident. I've been, not going to use the word hunting, but searching down in southern Arkansas, and I truly believe that I saw two kids out in the woods, two Sasquatch, just little short guys, and one of these rocks that looked like, what the hell are these black pointy rocks doing out in the middle of the woods? There's nothing else around it, and one of them moved. And I was trying to take a picture of the sunset, and I see these things, zoomed all the way in, and I'm like, oh my God, I never could get back to it. But then later on that night, I was trying to use paranormal equipment. I was trying to get them to communicate with me through my spirit box. You guys remember a little while ago when the sound system went, that wee sound, it really got high pitched? That's what my spirit box turned into. They blew out two of my batteries within a matter of like 3 minutes. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm trying to find a battery, a new 9-volt battery, and I kind of look to my right about not even 10 feet away, and I see this very dark shadow. It's like 11 o'clock at night. A very dark shadow standing next to this big giant black oak tree, and darker than dark, and it moved. It was kind of half out like this, and it moved behind the tree and disappeared. So I'm fully satisfied with what I witnessed that day. Was it 100%, accurate? I don't know, but in my mind, I'm trying to communicate with them, and they show themselves to me. That's perfect for me. So it doesn't matter if it's fake or not.
Fair enough.
I met Gimlin at a con in LA, and I had him sign some stuff for my dad, and the whole time I was like trying to read it. I'm like, did you do it? Did you do it? Like, is it real? I hope it's real because he's like the nicest person ever, and he doesn't seem like somebody that would do something like that, but he's old, so I don't know. But like, I swear, like the whole time I'm like, is it you? Did you, like, I don't know, but I just want to believe it because he was so nice.
I don't know if I have one more question. Totally off the subject of Bigfoot, but it's a cryptid. Who's from Oklahoma? All right, so what is up with the, I just found this out like 2 summers ago when I went back down to Oklahoma. You probably already know. What is with the Oklahoma octopus? Tank Killer Lake.
It's fake.
I figured.
Yeah.
I figured, but I just started like looking it up when I started hearing about it.
That show, I think it was that show Lost Tapes or whatever it was. I'm pretty sure it came from that. There's that show Lost Tapes where they do episodes on cryptid, on specific. Yeah, they do an episode on like a specific cryptid, and they would like found footage type thing, and they make this whole story or whatever. And they did one on Oklahoma octopus, and it's completely fake. They just made it up. So
I figured people in the lake didn't seem to like us sitting on the bank and asking them as they're paddling by, hey, have you seen the octopus? They just start paddling faster away from us.
Yeah, I've been told when I first got into this years ago, I started reaching out to researchers casually and asking them, man, have you ever run across a real eyewitness for this Oklahoma octopus thing? And the answer was no. All the ones that I asked, nobody's ever actually heard of a real eyewitness that's actually claimed to have seen this thing. And from what I can tell, it was just some fiction that was made up for a TV show. And a couple of the local bait shop owners found that it was good for business, so they started spreading the rumor. And if you're not selling enough Snickers bars and Coca-Colas, why make up a good story? And so, but yeah, it's highly irregular. So.
Gotcha.
I have a story about my dumbass decided when in my book Erie, Oklahoma, I had to write about the octopus. And my dumbass went and took some voice recorders and sat looking at the weather and went and tried to talk to it. And nothing happened. Just spoiler alert.
So I know earlier there was mention of some little people reports that were done. How common is that in the area? And how many have been reported that you know of that have been told to you guys?
I would say I've probably got I haven't actually tallied them up or anything, probably somewhere around 10 little people reports. Most of the ones that I get are, vague second, third hand reports of little people in certain areas. I've never come across any physical evidence. I have found some smaller footprints and stuff. We've had some weird stuff happen at the place that we've got down by Enid. That's kind of weird. But I mean, most of what we get is stories. I did have a lady reach out to me about a year and a half ago about that she had a roadside encounter with one. And we went out and interviewed her. It was a very interesting. She's very believable. It was actually kind of comical because she's a friend of mine that does Bigfoot research, and she was not expecting that. I mean, she called me out of the blue. I was on my way back from Atlanta, and she's talking 90 miles an hour, and you could tell that she was really riled up, and I was like, slow down, calm down. But we went out and did an interview with her. That was just a roadside encounter, though. And I've interviewed a couple of people who have seen them, and a lot of people associate them with some of the orb activity. I know that Pete Buffalo, I interviewed him, and he was talking about it, and about how the orbs at night, if they're down close to the ground, he believes that they're the little people, and they'll do all kinds of unusual stuff. They'll take you, and they'll wipe your memory and stuff like that. But as far as having any kind of physical evidence of them, I don't have any physical evidence whatsoever for them, but we do have a few reports. And I do know that they are, from what I've been told, they're not something you want to trifle with. They're not a game. So, a lot of Native American people, they're a lot more scared of little people than they are of Bigfoot. So, anyway, it gets pretty interesting sometimes. And they do seem to kind of be around some type of indigenous settlement usually. They seem to follow that, different tribes. So.
Legality? What happens if you catch a Bigfoot? What happens if you kill a Bigfoot?
Oh, well, the government's going to come and take it.
Deer belong to the state, right? Unless they damage your car, then that's your.
Well, if somebody was to actually kill a Bigfoot, I think you'd find that you'd probably end up in a real legal mess. Because if you sit down and look at them, from a scientific point of view, they meet the minimum requirements to be considered human. So if you killed one, you could be looking at facing charges. I interviewed a guy a couple of years ago now. Eric and I went out and talked to him, and there was a guy that had killed one over by Telequan, and I still believe that he saw what he saw, but to kind of make a long story short, the person that actually shot it ended up leaving the state and moving out of state because he was afraid that he was going to be charged with murder. So he packed up and he moved his whole family out of state because he was afraid that he was going to go to jail.
Didn't one of the states pass a law that Bigfoot's protected? I can't remember which state it was.
There's some local ordinances in Washington
Is that what it
State,
is?
yeah, but there are no statewide laws.
I think New York State has a law. Yeah, the white,
Doesn't Wisconsin or Massachusetts have
I wonder what lobbyists paid for that.
Right?
All right, any questions? All right, I think I'm good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a question?
Oh, sorry.
That's not true. That was a publicity stunt.
he tried,
JJ Humphreys.
he provided the idea and it was shot down quick fast.
I never went anywhere, so.
It was like a year or two ago, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking of.
He wasn't really a believer or a knower of Bigfoot. He thought it would be a great idea to promote tourism and stuff like that. And I guess he got a lot of backlash.
Was that near the time of the big, huge Bigfoot, the Oklahoma
Yeah.
thing was going on? That was during COVID, wasn't it?
It was after. I think it was after.
I don't remember exactly what it was. I don't know. It was at least 3 or 4 years ago.
All right, everybody. Let's give it up for Jason Roberts. Thank you so much. And to our panel. I don't know if you realize this or not, but this panel is full of some really top guys in the area on cryptids. So you're getting to kind of hear something special today. So give them all one more round of applause. I'm going to let them go. So really quick, we're going to take a 10-minute break again, and we are turning the tides into the later evening portion. We're going to start looking to the skies. It's time for UFOs. Woohoo! So here in 10 minutes, we're going to have a presentation, the history of UFO photography, and how to photograph and record your own UFO sighting with Enzo Cyril of Derby, Kansas. He's a podcaster, and he's also a member of Bordertown Paranormal. And this might also be a really great time, if you haven't gotten one yet, go to the front desk and get yourself one of these booklets. Because in the back is a couple of kind of how-to worksheets and take-homes that's going to kind of point out some of the stuff that he's going to be talking about with you tonight, a little take-home. So you can kind of follow along, take it home with you. It's really, really fun. So grab one of those up. Remember to get some concessions. Coyote Tacos is still outside, and they will be for the rest of the evening. and of course tip our vendors. And I'll see you back here in about